Good morning, everyone. How are you? My name is Griselda Cuevas, and I work in Google Cloud as an open source strategist, and I'm very excited to talk to you about how the Beam community has grown in the past 2 years. So looking back, this is a project timeline. In 2016, Apache Beam joined the Apache Incubator, and by the end of the year, we graduated as a top-level project. Also, in 2017, we had in 2018, we have our first contributor summit. It was a small gathering, and we just did it with some of the contributors that we have in the community. Here's where the idea of having a bigger summit came. And later that year, in October, we organized our first Apache Beam summit in Europe. So through this timeline, we have achieved big milestones, not only for the project, but also for the community. As Matthias mentioned earlier, we have had multiple meetups coming up, not only in Europe, but also in other regions like Latin America and in America. So now let's take a look at how the community has grown. The project contributors grew from, in 2016, to have 60 to over 400 in 2019. In terms of project committers, this means that they are recognized by the Apache Software Foundation model as someone who contributes to the development of the technology. We went from 12 in 2016 to 51 this year. So that's like 5 times the growth of the community. In project management committee, which is committers that have been in the project for longer and have taken a more active role in the development, we went from 17 in 2016 to 23. In terms of the activity that the project has had in the different platforms like GitHub and Jira, we have had over 1 million lines of code. We have also have over 8,000 pull requests in GitHub, and we have over 7,000 Jira issues that people are working on. So with this, you can see a timeline of how the project has evolved in terms of activity. So you can see that by the time that we were graduating as a top-level project of the Apache Software Foundation, the activity in GitHub actually picked up, which was around 2017 in May. And then lately, with all the additions that we have had with our partners, like Apache Flink, it has also spiked up in 2019. Let me tell you a little bit about the big wins that we had last year for the Apache Beam community. The first one is that we were recognized by the Apache Software Foundation as one of the most active projects, and we publish best practices on how Apache Beam has been evolving as a project. We made it to the top. We were recognized as the most active development in the mailing list of developers. We were the most active project for the Apache Software Foundation, and we were also the 3rd project by number of commits in GitHub. We were also recognized as one of the top technologies of the year by InfoWorld. This is a recognition that this magazine gives to the top technologies, and they do it by different dimensions. One of them is the attention that it has received from the community. So with that, I would love to talk to you about what we are expecting from our community in the future. One of the focus that we have in terms of community is that we want to expand to new regions, and we are actively working on creating more meetup groups and supporting community members to do so. This year, we're going to also have our first event in Asia, and we will have a bigger summit in Latin America. We also want to expand to more languages. There are efforts undergoing to translate our documentation into Chinese, Japanese, and Spanish. We want to have more use cases. And with this, we're talking to other partners and active users of Apache Beam to tell the story of how they put the technology into practice to help solve their use cases or their problems. We're also actively working to recognize more non-contributors into our community. And a great example is the team that here today put together the Apache Beam Summit. We also want to invite more people to contribute to creating documentation, trainings, use cases, demos, and all the resources needed so more people around the world know about Beam and start contributing and become part of the community. And with that, I would love to talk to you about the ways that you can get involved in the community. One of them is, of course, with the technology. So if you're interested in learning more how to write runners or how to integrate with the core technology of Beam, the workshops in this summit will be great. So you also know how can you implement the use and the adaptations that you have for the technology into the project upstream. Documentation. As I mentioned, we are interested in helping more people get to test Beam. And oftentimes, language is the biggest barrier for people that are not English native speakers. So if you are a non-native speaker and you're interested in helping with the translation, you are more than welcome to approach us through the mailing list, and we'll be happy to support you. Advocacy is another way to get involved. So if you like giving talks at conferences or meetups and you're using Beam or would love to talk about Beam, reach out to us. We have tools and a platform to support the creation of these meetups and events. And lastly, training and tutorials. Training and tutorials are an important way to help people understand the technology and see how they can apply it to solve their use cases. So with that, the way to get involved is joining our mailing list. We have two mailing lists. One is for users, and the other one is for people who want to get involved in the community. Users@apache.org is our user mailing list, and dev@apache.org is our developers. And these are the addresses that you can send a message to subscribe. Lastly, as Matthias mentioned, we have our social media accounts. And you can follow us on Twitter to stay up to date in what is going on with Apache Beam. So with that, I would like to give it back to Matthias.